Hello, this is Jeremy Greider, and I have a special guest for you today. This is Real Mojo Live with Chris Dawson. Chris Dawson is an awesome guy. We actually are a part of a men's group together. That's how I met him, called Metal International. And today I'm just super excited to share this friend with you. Really, that's what this whole podcast is about, is really just sharing people that are passionate about what they do and passionate about things in their lives with you during this difficult time in our history. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today? Wait, I got the wrong guest. Hold on one second. Sorry, new software. All right. I think I got it now.
Yep, looks like it. You hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Hold on one second. Yeah. There, well, it's putting something, give me one second. Let me see. Oh, I found it. There we go. I hate it when technology gets the best of me, but especially when I'm with somebody that is so bright like you in the tech world. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and what you're all about right now.
Yeah. So currently, I run an engineering services company out of Austin, Texas, and what we really try to do is source or utilize our resources to help some of these initial burgeoning startups, typically in the kind of the green energy space, people that are really trying to make a big impact. They've got great ideas, but have some gaps on what it's going to take from a funding perspective or an engineering perspective or overall go to market. So we can take someone literally from the whiteboard where it's just a great idea, pretty picture, and then drive that through initial minimum viable product, prototype, and then to market. And we really are very picky about what products that we bring in. For us, it's all about the impact that it can have. And part of the big driving force for my company is free the world. And what that means is unencumbering the human experience through the proliferation of energy and technology to make life easier for humans around the globe, and not just for first world humans, but all of them. And what the way I really like to distill that down is we will not be happy and we will not rest until the poorest kid in India, Rwanda, or Southside Chicago, or just impoverished areas around the world have energy in their pocket. We're driving the world to have unfettered access to unlimited energy, and we think once we achieve that as a global society, that then we'll have a million Nikola Teslas, a million Einsteins, and a million Da Vinci, and then we can really step into that next chapter for humanity.
And to me, this very much sounds like a Nikola Tesla type idea, in the sense of freeing things and freeing the energy. I honestly think it's refreshing to hear somebody that is in this for the right reasons. Somebody that doesn't just seem to be moved by money, but wants to better the world around them. And so, what are you doing to that effect? What are in your life right now? What are some of your projects that you have going on that are helping move that forward?
Yeah, so we're spending a lot of time in the hydrogen space right now. Naturally, having spent 5 years on staff at Tesla and then another 2 years as a contractor prior to, and then associated with Atlas Motor Vehicles as well as initial investor, and then came on to help drive some of the engineering endeavors. All of that time, all total about 10 years in the EV space, seeing
Mm-hmm.
how the sausage is made for batteries. And I have some serious doubts about batteries' ability to scale to actually support the energy needs worldwide. And then, so if we look at that and we can say, well, if battery can't save us, and the only way solar works is if we have batteries
Hmm.
in order to save all that energy, because the sun isn't always shining, the wind always isn't blowing, and seeing that gap, that we've got to be able to step in with some other storage mechanism for energy that can scale to meet that. And I believe that hydrogen is the key component that helped bridge us there. And so we're doing a lot in that space, really trying to drive. There's a ton of people working on different componentry, electrolyzers and fuel cells and storage devices, and both solid state and gas storage, and upwards of 700 bar or 10,000 psi storage capacity, which puts a lot of energy in a really small space. And taking all of those pieces and find the best of the best, combine them to provide actual solutions, both in industry, impoverished areas, or areas that don't have the typical support. Like an example would be tribal lands. What
Hmm.
you'll see, right, in tribal lands is you'll see casinos pushed all the way up against the highway, and there's one that's access, but two, it's also the grid runs to that point. But you go and there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of acres in some of these tribal lands that have no infrastructure whatsoever that's out there. What hydrogen allows us to do is actually drop uh, support to create a grid in the center of that without needing any kind of connection to
Outside.
the grid itself. And so it's a true decentralized energy solution that now can be carried out in, Rwanda, Nigeria, tribal lands. It also could be used to support the grid where it can't be scaled up to meet demand. So,
Hmm.
like LA would be a great example, right? There's no way that we're going to be able to upsize the grid in LA to be able to
Right.
support the demand of electric vehicles that is very soon going to be very prevalent in LA. It's already coming. California already has issues with brownouts, and now we're going to take something that has a much higher demand electrically than what is typically used in a household. And now we're going to put that there and drag the system down even further. So what this allows you to do with a hydrogen solution is plug something into an area to upsize that grid capability locally.
Hmm.
It also provides the opportunity for an individual residence to have one unit or an appliance, if you
Hmm.
will, that can refill your hydrogen car, that can charge your electric vehicle, and provide backup energy for your house independent of the grid.
Wow.
It could work in conjunction with the grid as well as independent of the grid. So now you actually bring some level of what I like to call energy sovereignty to the individual. It's like, yes, the grid is there, and it's nice to have and makes things easier, but now you have this little appliance that allows you to then support that. And so these are all the different things that we're working on in the hydrogen space to really bring, like I said, the term I want to coin is like energy sovereignty kind of
Hmm.
back. And that
I like
drives us
that.
down that drives us down that path to say, now we miniaturize that and get that to a particular point to where it's in everybody's pocket all around the world. I mean, that's a huge, like, big hairy goal, right? I'll spend my life getting to that point, and someone else will have to pick up the baton to carry it further. But what I can do now is I can design an appliance that frees individual households and
Right.
individual businesses to be able to support and carry their own power.
That's
Uh,
incredible. I love that idea, and it makes so much more sense than electric to me. I've had so many questions. I mean, what happens when the batteries, go out on a vehicle, or you get stuck somewhere? There's so many things that that we're not used to with an electric vehicle, and so I don't know. I think to me, hydrogen. I've heard so much about it, and it just seems like a better way.
yeah, I would. Yeah, I would say it's so with all things is one thing isn't good for everything, but
Right.
so I think there's plenty of room for batteries in EVs, and I think there's plenty of room in hydrogen for vehicle applications. Like when we're talking close moving in and around, and actually, if you remember, Arcimoto, who presented at one of the metal groups, is also a metal
Mm-hmm.
member as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Vermeyer. his Arcimoto design is perfect for an electric application. It's short, small range. It's meant to run to the grocery store, the hardware store, go get your coffee,
Hmm.
and it's this real small, super efficient unit that's still fun to drive and cool, but doesn't take up any space. And so your energy footprint is decreased, thereby your overall carbon footprint, depending on where you get your energy from, is also reduced. But that's going to be horrible for if I want to go from LA to Phoenix, for example,
Right.
right? If I want to go LA to Phoenix, it's actually it's I would say annoying to do that trip. I've done that trip as well as the San Francisco to LA trip many times in an EV, and it adds massive amounts of time to the overall trip because I'm plugging in periodically through that endeavor, and it's just not a great road trip.
Experience, yeah.
But if I go with something that is, let's say, hydrogen that has that ability to reach, right, and
Hmm.
get still maintain that level of range, it's 3, 4, 5, or even 600 miles into a
Wow.
vehicle, which can be achieved with a hydrogen solution. You're still limited, to be fair, devil's advocate to my own argument, is the infrastructure's not there to support hydrogen.
Right.
But what we can do with hydrogen is forward deploy those solutions, much like that appliance that I described.
Hmm.
Now you can put that in your home. You could put a larger unit at a gas station, and I don't need to worry about what the grid can support in order to do that. So that's like I can't just drop a supercharger, a Tesla supercharger at every single gas station
Right.
because the grid that is there to support it may or not be able to support it at its full capabilities as a supercharger, right?
Hmm.
And so there's difficulty in that the grid has to scale to support it. Hydrogen allows us to drop that even in the most minimal of spaces.
Is that real, Mojo?
Yeah. Sorry, it's my kid
No,
came in.
you're
I'm on the
fine.
show. Go ahead.
And
Sorry.
no, you're fine. You're fine. And so what hydrogen allows us to do is put forward deploy those and drop those. So I can go down, let's say I-5, and drop hydrogen units at
Hmm.
every single gas station. And now I have provided the ability to charge EVs and fill up hydrogen vehicles without needing massive amounts of support from the grid. We'll still need some support for the grid in a lot of those applications, but it allows us to use kind of like a trickle charge approach
Right.
to build up large amounts of hydrogen. And then when EVs come in or hydrogen vehicles come in, you do a massive dump, either through a fuel cell to create energy or electricity, or through just pressurized hydrogen into the tank. And those vehicles are back on their path and didn't have to spend massive amounts of time waiting to charge and no dependency on the grid needing to upscale.
One of the things that I guess I'm probably concerned about is, I come from Odessa, Texas, and a big oil field town.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously has taken an incredible hit over the last couple of years, with the way that oil is going. But what would you say to a town like that has built their whole infrastructure around oil and would have to transition to really survive? I mean, what should they do? What should a town like that's always been dependent on oil? What can they do to maybe modernize and take advantage during this time?
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good question, and I don't believe that we should drop all of those things. I don't think it makes sense to cut off our previous energy sources before we have it fully fledged out of how we're going to pick up the slack. And two is where else can we use? So we spend a ton of time and energy and engineering to develop the systems that are utilized currently to pull oil out of the ground in an
Hmm.
efficient manner, in a cost effective manner in order to get it to the market. There's still actually a lot of value there that can be done with a zero emissions impact. It's a process called methanation. You can actually pull from fossil fuels, you can pull hydrogen out of that through that
Oh wow.
process and uh, and capture that carbon in the process. So you're not producing any. It's you're sequestering that carbon. You utilize that for other manufacturing type processes, and that has value in the market. And then you pull the hydrogen from that, and now you can use that hydrogen as a what we call I would call it a greenish hydrogen. If it produces no carbon, then it's a green hydrogen. But it's a bit of a heavy lift, right? So there's other categories like gray, blue, green hydrogen.
Hmm.
Ideally, we want to push toward green, and if we can sequester all the carbon through that process, which in that process we can and control that. Now we can actually use fossil fuels or pulling out of the ground and utilize that technology, but
Uh-huh.
instead utilize it to produce hydrogen and then
Uh-huh.
put that hydrogen into vehicles. And then what that then looks like is there's two options with hydrogen as far as energy that could work in a vehicle. You could use a fuel cell, which is just converting pressurized hydrogen into electricity through what's called a proton exchange membrane. But you're pulling the hydrogen in, it recombines as water. There's extra electrons as a result, and those electrons flow down the system, and then those will go into likely a small battery or straight to a motor, turn the motor, and propel the car down the road. That would be the
Mm-hmm.
electric way to use hydrogen. Another way is to use a hydrogen as an internal combustion type engine,
Mm-hmm.
which it would take some need and some equipment to upgrade your engine to be able to do that. And I think this is a way forward for existing internal combustion engines on the road. Is that's how we convert the already existing, right? The billions of vehicles that are on the road currently.
They can be
Uh,
converted to hydrogen.
Most of them could. I would say that given enough money and engineering resources, all of them could be converted. Are
Mm-hmm.
some of them worth converting? No. Are some of
No.
them worth converting? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's you pick and choose which ones do you wait to just rust and die and fall apart, and then you just pull them off the road, and then which ones do you actually convert? And so there's a few companies around the world that are working on this. I know in the UK there's a company, I think it's JCB, if I'm remembering the acronym appropriately, that's converting large municipal trucks, garbage trucks, buses. And they're taking diesel engines and converting them to run on pressurized hydrogen. As a
That's
result,
brilliant.
like energy density, hydrogen's 3.73 times more energy dense than diesel as a
Wow.
result. So it changes things as far as how, like a diesel engine is a very particular piece of equipment. So it takes a fair bit of engineering work to get that converted. But once we figure that out and really dial that in, then it becomes kits, much like you can do like propane conversion kits that already exist or natural gas conversion kits that already exist. There's not too much augmentation that has to happen
Mm-hmm.
to then do it also off of hydrogen. And why that's valuable is the only thing you need at your house to produce that is you need a hydrogen source and an energy source. You already have the grid piped to your house, and you already have tap water, which is H2O, right?
Right.
There's two hydrogens in there, every single right, and so we can pull those off and use those as a fuel source. And you can cook your
Mm-hmm.
food with hydrogen. You could potentially run it in your internal combustion engine with a conversion kit, or you can run it through a fuel cell for energy. And
Which means we could have some badass Chevelles out there that are running on hydrogen. Because I'm telling
yeah,
you, a Chevelle, Camaro, all those cars, we need to make sure we save those, right?
yeah, 100%. So that so much doesn't fit into my free the world budget, but it is absolutely in my absolutely must do to-do list. But like I'm a
Absolutely.
classic car guy. I'm more excited about classic cars than I am about anything that comes
Yeah.
new. And I have a list of vehicles that will be some sort of hydrogen and or EV conversion that will be coming, but that'll be more of a hobby business versus the primary, which is free the world.
You know what I have a question that I think if Mark Restivo is here, he would definitely ask, and that is, are we going to be able to trick out these hydrogen cars like we can?
Yeah. So that's a big argument that I make for internal combustion is why it should
Yeah.
still be a thing is that we've spent over 100 years developing and drilling that down to get the maximum amount of energy out of this internal combustion. And so the same principles apply, whether it's hydrogen, gas, diesel, methanol, dragsters, right? All these are internal combustion fuels. And so we'll still be able to trick them out and tune them, and I see a long path for Mark Restivo to continue
Good.
as things move into hydrogen, and he's on the top of my list of people I'm going to call when I'm ready to pull the trigger on doing some classic conversions of
Oh,
hydrogen.
that would be
So
incredible. And for y'all that don't know, again, we're a part of a group called Metal International. That's how I actually met Chris. And Mark is a part of that group. He restores classic cars here in the Austin area. And he originally, I believe, was out in California. But Yeah, Chris, I did want to ask you one more question too. You have a little story I heard one time, and I thought it would be a pretty fun one to share. What happened when you drove your F-250 to Tesla? What happened?
So yeah, it wasn't an F-250, but it was a first gen Dodge.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and so yeah, I love me a Cummins truck. I love me a first gen Cummins. I had the 5.912 valve in that, and flatbed, matte black. Uh, it's like a blacked out farm truck of all
Oh
sorts.
man, sounds
And
awesome.
I love that truck, and I drove that every single day into Tesla, and it was always this kind of funny joke as like I'd pull in and we'd have visitors and whoever else, and then I'd walk up and introduce myself and like, oh, this is the guy leading this engineering team for Model 3 or robotics, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, so here's a guy pulling up in his diesel truck to then come build the world's most advanced electric vehicle, right? It's like pulling up in the enemy to then go do this thing. But one is that I have, from my upbringing and aunts, uncles, and father grew up like milking cows every morning, right? Very like
Yeah.
horse type people, right? And so that diesel truck kind of piece is just really bred into my DNA, and I still to this day drive one and love them. And uh, I'm not so downtrodden on them with urea treatments and DPF filters. We're able to sequester a fair bit of that carbon, and it can be done better, right, with hydrogen, right? But so pulling that in, it was this common joke that everyone used to love telling the different vendors. And then one day I pull in and like Elon's standing outside. I pull in with that vehicle. We walk in, and then Elon and I link up later, just kind of happenstance wise. And he put like two and two together and saw me again and recognized me from the parking lot. And he's like, "Are you driving that black diesel truck out there?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I am." He just looked at me with this look of like, "Come on, man," right? Like kind of
Uh-huh.
tilt his head sideways. And I said, "Hey, as soon as we build something that does what that does, I'll
Right.
absolutely buy it. But until that happens, I'm driving the thing that does what that thing does. I can pick a trailer with it, haul stuff, and
Yeah, it
still,
makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
and even honestly, I look at the new Tesla truck and I'm like, if you're a truck guy, that's not a truck.
yeah.
That's a truck maybe my wife would be okay with driving, but I can't do it. It's just not a truck to me.
It's
So
it's a work of art in that
it's
way.
beautiful, yeah.
And it lies. I don't agree, but I think it looks like
I,
a doorstop. But my point, Jeremy, of it
okay.
being art is that
I like the design. I just think it's more art than it is
yeah.
practical.
So it's in the eye of the beholder, right? And
Yeah.
so I would knowing lots of truck people and being a truck person myself, I don't know a single truck person that's signing up to say, yeah, give me the Cybertruck,
Yeah.
right? Or even the R1T Rivian, and which is a beautiful truck, and I think they did well.
Yeah.
But when you come down to truck people, it's like, what can I haul with it? What can I tow with it? What's the payload? And you miss the mark on all of those EV solutions, minus one, which is why I was an initial investor at Atlas Motor Vehicles. This is
Uh-huh.
the first opportunity for an EV truck to actually um, supplant the stranglehold the big three have had on the truck market and provide something with a 5,000 pound payload, a 35,000 pound tow capacity, and a 500-mile range, which is not being offered in any electric solution and are the basic parameters by which a truck must be in order to operate in this kind of truck world. And so Atlas Motor Vehicles, which I think they're set to go public this quarter, so we're excited to see that. I was an initial investor there, and I spent a year there helping them develop that technology. So, I mean, I'm horribly biased, but that's one of the
Yeah.
products. That's the products I'm most excited about in the electric space to come out as that.
Well, too, and not only that, the platform. People need to
Yeah.
understand that it's not just a truck. There's also a platform where you can put like box trucks on. You can put,
Okay.
yeah. So,
So yeah, at Atlas, so we set up this electrified platform that you could put whatever top hat that you want on it. And we had all kinds of crazy requests like Zambonis and box trucks and buses and whatever else. And the answer is always yes, right? Yeah, we can, because the way we built it in this very modular fashion, so you can make it do whatever you want. And I think we had a video that we took where we did a time lapse, and it was like 26 minutes. The team was mostly interns, and we did a complete swap from an off-road buggy to a box truck, and it's the exact same platform. So literally roll the one in, boom, 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 drive it around, boom, boom, boom. In 26 minutes, we're able to completely change the use case for that vehicle. And so that provides a whole nother level of function for a piece of capital equipment within a business. Imagine saying, hey, I need to haul my fifth wheel trailer, over here for this, and then I need to pick up a dump load here. Well, that's a different bed and a different use case. So
Oh,
you could
wow.
potentially have one platform that facilitates 5, 6, 10 different functions within the business based on what you need.
That's crazy. I didn't know it did that. I love that. I mean, and being a truck guy, like having some ability like that to switch things out if you want to, that's pretty
Mhm.
wild. That's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
the trick is to build it all modular so it all kind of plugs and plays. We
Hmm.
did that for manufacturing as well. So let's say I wanted to go with a tandem axle rig that we wanted to make using an XP platform. It's just a couple frame extensions and the exact same components that make up the front and the rear axle
Hmm.
all go right in. So from a manufacturing perspective, the process doesn't even change. So I can make a four-wheel truck, a tandem axle truck, another two-wheel, another tandem, triple axle, all of it, and the process is just repeated. It's exactly the same. It's all the exact same components. So
Hmm.
now when you own a fleet of these vehicles, it's the same exact parts on the shelf that scale up and down for the entire fleet. So now
That's incredible.
your maintenance team only has to understand how to swap one drive module, and that works for all of the vehicles. One battery module, it works for all of the vehicles. So we
Wow.
really look at it more from a capital equipment business approach. And in solving that, we just make a badass truck for the individual. Or I
Yeah.
should say they should, I should say they, because I'm no longer on staff there. But
Yeah,
that's the one.
I get it though. I helped. I was early on at Big Commerce, and I still talk about me
Yeah.
as like I'm there, and I kind of am. I work at Feedonomics now, so they're owned by them. But yeah, I always it's hard because you put a lot of heart into something like that. I'm sure you have
Yeah.
some attachment to it.
A lot of late nights, early mornings, long hours, a lot of coffee and Red Bull.
Awesome. Well, hey Chris, thank you for jumping on with me. This has been an incredible session, and hopefully we'll do this again soon. But man, I appreciate it. It's been exciting, and I think the viewers are going to love this.
So thanks for having me on. It's been great.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.